another episode of Ignite Your Power, the Kathy Mao podcast. Today, I am so excited and honored to have a guest on with me, Mike Perry. He is a master energy worker, shamanic guide, and human design coach who helps individuals align with their unique energy to live with more power, presence, and purpose. And I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you, Mike, for being here.
Thank you, Kathy, for having me. I'm very honored to be here and be part of this with you.
Like I am so excited to have you on because I'm all into the spirituality and energy work, and you're gonna be talking about that today. And you have such a powerful story. And thank you for sharing that with me. And can you share how your own challenges and experiences led you to discover energy healing?
Absolutely. And super happy to be here, guys. Hello, everyone that comes across this.
Yeah.
My challenges started since I was born. I was born with what there was actually no term for it then. It was back in the 80s, aging myself there a little bit. Excuse me, but the doctors told me after numerous different doctors, different psychologists, I wouldn't talk. I didn't actually say my first words until I was about 7 years old.
What?
And they like one doctor wanted to pull out all of my teeth because they thought my teeth were preventing me from talking. And ultimately, what it was when I did get older and actually really dive into that experience is I didn't feel safe in my home. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, and there was a whole slew of mental health issues. And I took those on to the point where I tried to take my own life 4 times. And those experiences led me to have some very profound mystical experiences that led me to question what it is that's really around us and what is real versus what is not. And that's what led me to energy work. As a kid, I would, at night when I'd go to bed, I would see these tiny little specks in my room. And I would wonder what they were. And the awareness came to me is that they were just energy. And as a kid, I would hold an image in my head, and those little dots would take that image, that shape of that image, and I'd play with it. That's how I'd fall asleep. It wasn't until fast forward about 40 years later, when my father was on his dying, and I was his caretaker, I told him about that. And he told me that he did had the same experience when he was a kid, but he didn't realize that he would be able to communicate or work with them in that fashion. And that really helped me cement some of my experiences. So my most profound experience that led me to the path of energy work, to answer your question, so when I was 17, I tried to hang myself, and I lived at Lake Huron in Michigan, one of the Great Lakes. And there was a tree that grew out of where the grass and the sand met. In a spiritual, energetic perspective, we would call that a tween place, a place between two realms. And that is an access point for different states of consciousness. As I went through that process, I had the rope around my neck. My friend was teaching me astral projection at the time, and she projected her consciousness into me. I could see her in my mind's eye, and her presence, the energy I felt was so strong that I swore if I would have opened my eyes, I would have seen her standing there.
Yeah.
And she just kept saying, I love you, Mike Perry. My last name is Perry. Don't do this. And I became so overwhelmed, even in that state, that I ended up taking that rope off and running down the beach, just screaming, getting all of that energy out, expressing it. And I tripped and face planted in the sand. And as I did that, I laughed. And I'll explain why that's important in just a moment. As I was setting up, dusting myself off, something very gently grabbed my cheeks and made me look at the moon. When I did that, my third eye, the center of my forehead, I felt this tremendous pressure there, and it went pop, like open. And I was inside a cocoon of energy. And guys, it looked something straight out of like Harry Potter. I could
Yeah.
see this like watery, flowy substance. And I could see the sand and the water, the environment around it. And inside this space, I met a being of light that took the form of a lady. And that was only love. The only thing I could experience and feel in here was pure unconditional love. And I was told, she told me that she was the mother aspect of the archetypal consciousness, and to give me or to give her my pain and suffering, she would leave me with peace. And guys, 30 seconds, in 30 seconds, all desire to hurt myself, to do something so permanent was gone, just like that. Like a switch had just been flipped. And she asked me what I wanted. And I told her I wanted to understand that experience and to facilitate it and share it with others.
Yeah.
And that started my journey down energy work. After that night, I devoted the rest of my life to studying energy and consciousness and how it is that we function.
Wow. Thank you, first of all, for sharing your story. That is such a powerful story. Like, wow, that gave me chills because it does take something drastic, I feel, in order to tap into your spiritual powers for most of us, right? For you, that happened during that story. For me, I don't feel like I unlocked my powers fully yet. But I started my journey through a hardship of like infertility, and that kind of led me into spirituality and kind of understanding how energy works. I truly believe energy is so important to learn, and it's fascinating that you've been learning that ever since that story. So how long have you been learning energy? Or yeah.
22 years.
Wow, 22 years. That's so long. And that's amazing. What about energy work really resonates with you? And like, why is it so important to have and understand this knowledge of how energy works?
Because it's really how we function. For an example, being told and growing up my whole life that I was dumb or incapacitated, like I was broken. That was very enforced in my childhood. And, that led me down a path of drugs, alcohol, promiscuity, being promiscuous, that really just compounded all those stories that I was fed when I was a kid. And one of the things that have stood out to me the most is there was this psychologist that I had to see. I think I was like around 10, 11 years old. And he had this picture of, it's very common on now online, but it was an angel reaching out with a finger like this, and then a man on a cloud with their finger like this. And symbolically, that represents how the divine is available there to us. We just have to reach out for it, make that little small effort to connect.
Mhm.
And that is how we do so by utilizing our own energy. And when we know how to breathe properly, I just had this conversation with a friend of mine a few days ago
Mhm.
that most people are very shallow breathers. We breathe from our chest instead of our stomach.
Mhm.
That doesn't give our body the oxygen it needs in order to really function properly. And when we deprive our body of that, we deprive of our ability to actually notice the subtle energy around us. And that's really important because that's how we determine what it is that's really feeding us. So are we engaging in energetic activities that are keeping us stuck and, feeding the things, the stories that tell us, we're not worthy, we're not good enough, we're not this?
Yeah.
Or are we actively looking and feeding things consciously and mindfully of the things that are good for us? Like this podcast, for example.
Like a positive or a negative energy for you?
Positive. This is something that
Yeah.
really feeds me very well, and it's something that I'm very passionate about.
Oh, yeah. I know you
Mental
are. I
health.
see it. That's why I love your energy. I like the first time we ever met too, we knew energetically we aligned. And when you start talking about conscious conversations, which we had our first conversation together, I love that term. I'm gonna use it all the time now. I believe so much in that. Like when you have conscious conversation, it's so different than just having a conversation like, oh, what do you do? Like a lot of us ask those questions. Those don't light you up. Those are not what, you know, getting to know a person, a soul being is. And so we had this, conscious conversation of talking about energy, like what truly lights us up, and like even sharing our stories, our deep, intimate stories of like, how it brought us to where we are now. And like we just had that same mindset and energy. It was so amazing. And like we get to do it again, and now everybody gets to hear it.
Absolutely. And I love that. And from an energetic standpoint, us sharing this energy exchange creates a space that not only inspires and empowers others, but allows that creative energy to expand.
Mm,
And that's one thing, like energy itself is creative and it doesn't care what it creates. If it creates chaos or beauty, it just wants to create.
mm,
So when we engage in something, that energy is like, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever you tell me to, and we're gonna create whatever it is that you want to create. And
mm.
that's where mindfulness really plays an important part. We got to be mindful of the things that we're engaging in and what they're actually providing us in the physical life.
Ooh, so is that part of like manifestation? Is that what part of manifesting is? Like having a thought and then, right, is it either going to be chaos like what you said, or is it going to bring happy joy? Like, so that's why your thoughts are so important, right? And that will manifest into your life. So having like a positive mentality or mindset is so important.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that subject up.
Okay.
What it really is alchemy, internal alchemy. We're talking about taking emotional energy and connecting it with mental awareness.
Mm,
We have that mind body holistic connection when we do that. For an example, I'm a published poet, and one of the things that has prevented, or one of the things that I've always had the thought about is reading my poetry live. And when I went to do that, I would like, no, I can't do that. I'm not good enough. It sucks. Nobody likes, all of that BS.
yeah.
And when I finally just did the action, everybody loved it. I've
Yeah.
had nothing but people, nothing but good things that people told me they loved it, they were inspired, and I'm like, this is really just me letting go of the stories that limited me and connecting my emotional energy with the mental awareness and taking the action. And to me, that's manifestation. I manifested that experience for myself.
Oh, I love that. I love how you talk about manifestation in that way. Just like me doing this podcast, I manifested it in a way, just like exactly the way you were talking about poetry. Like I had this thought and I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not good enough. I waited a whole year until I actually did my first episode, or maybe 2 years. And my husband was supportive. He actually bought me like a microphone, which is actually broken now, but that's how long it's been. And then I was telling these stories and I didn't allow it to manifest into my life because I wasn't taking the actions to do it. And then once I started recording my first episode, it has not stopped since then. Like I've been recording every week for at least a year and a half now. So it's like, it's thank you every Friday. And mind you, I still work a 9 to 5 job and I still have a 2-year-old daughter. So like, if people are trying to make excuses, you will make excuses, right? To not make things happen. But I'm not trying to boast or tell people about what I do. I'm just trying to tell people, like, if you truly believe in something, you will do it. You know?
Absolutely.
And so,
And
like, that's why you're here. You're showing up, which is amazing. And like, I get to connect with this amazing soul being that you are right now and sharing your knowledge today. So it's like a full circle, and it's so beautiful to see the manifestation.
it is. And like one of the things that, and a lot of spiritual teachers talk about this is inspired action. And I think, and it's been kind of my experience that for the longest time, I didn't really realize what inspired action meant.
Hmm.
And until I actually looked at my writings, I'm like, wow, these are really good. And I could see that I was inspired. I was in a flow state when I wrote them. Okay, well, how can I utilize that state consciously and mindfully to create the experiences that I want to have? To me, that's what manifestation is realizing we are the creators of our own experiences. And when we let go of our excuses, let go of all the stories that say we can't, the only thing that really stands in our own way is ourselves.
I totally believe that. It really is. And that's what keeps us safe. Fear, our ego mind telling us, like, no, you can't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. And we hear that. We hear it all the time. We're like, all right, maybe I can't do it then. Never mind. I just won't do it. Right?
Yes, and that is, to me, like the ego. there's a lot of big talk in the spiritual about the ego.
Yes, there is.
Not something that we need to kill per se, or not have, because we do need it. It does serve a purpose,
Hmm.
but we also need it to understand its place.
Yeah.
It's not to control us. It's not to take the driver's seat.
Hmm.
It is to help guide us and be more of a passenger. And I've understanding my energies and how I worked with them after that experience that I shared, it was just like magic. That the for like about 5 years, I couldn't eat meat after that. The idea of me eating meat literally made me nauseous.
Wow.
The only thing I would eat would be dark leafy greens. I ate a ton of salad. I loved it.
Wow.
And then eventually I got the impulse in my body. It started craving some meat,
Hmm.
started craving steak. So I ate that. And when I listened to my body and tuned into what it was asking me, it was nutrition. Like I loved it. It was great. It didn't turn my stomach, and I felt great. When my mind was clear, I was able to do everything that I needed to do and wanted to do.
Yeah. But isn't
And
that wild that when you get in tune with your body, it feels so good, meaning you do get that clarity. So right now I'm doing a bean protocol, which is eating a lot of fiber, but like ultimately it's feeding my body with nutrients, like literally a lot of nutrient dense foods. No, none of that garbage stuff that makes me feel awful. And I just feel more aligned and at peace with myself too, which is so crazy because you would think like, oh, I'm satisfying my craving. I'm so happy that I get to eat like or drink coffee and eat like cake or whatever, but it's like actually that was really hindering with my health. And I have this crazy rash right here. I don't know if you can see it, but like I know intuitively it's like a hormonal imbalance because I have endometriosis. And so like I know intuitively I have to do these holistic things to like kind of help my cells on a cellular scientific level to clear out all the bad whatever I have in my body and kind of like, build it back up again. And so it's wild to me that just even following that intuition, knowing that, and then taking the action towards that, it just feels good, you know?
yes, love that.
Yeah, thank you. And so
Well,
I know that you do talk about this though. You really know about like energy healing all the way to the cellular level. And you know that, energy healing can be used to address things like depression or even physical diseases like this. So like if you kind of want to explain more about that and how that really works. And yeah.
absolutely. And that correlates to what we were just talking about, how our emotional and mental energy or awareness connect together. Is in that we have impulse of thought, or we get a feeling within us, our intuition speaks, and
Mhm.
then there's an immediate story with that. Something pops in our head. That story is directly related to an experience, and that experience lives in our DNA. It's programmed in us. And in shamanism, this is what they talk about ancestral trauma.
Yeah.
Our DNA is made up of it's made up of all our ancestors, but the ones that are active, the strands in our DNA that are active are come from our last 8 generations.
Oh.
So when we look and study our own genealogy, we can see, okay, what was the life like for my family, my ancestors. In mine, it was a lot of alcoholism, a lot of partying, a lot of being wild and unbalanced. And I can see how that, corresponded and related when I came along. And so, like the phrase, the chosen one for my line of consciousness, that's something that's always resonated with me. And for the longest time, I just like, okay, cool. It gives me tingles when I hear it. All right, whatever. Don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But the more I've studied that, the more I've come into that is learning how to work with my own DNA and understanding the stories that are present there, stories of limitation. I'm not worthy. I'm this, I'm that. And those were stories that led me to take the micro actions of not eating good, not taking care of myself, not doing the things that I know I need to do to nurture my own self. And that's where a lot of addictions came into play. And the fact that my oldest brother was a severe alcoholic for 30 years. And it took a lot. He even went to prison for it and the whole 9 yards. But thankfully now he broke that. He broke that cycle. And in doing that, he connected different strands of or activated parts of his DNA that were dormant before that allowed him to facilitate his own healing. So like when someone comes to me for a healing, I don't heal them. I hold a pattern, an awareness, space of energy that their energy picks up on and says, hey, this is how we are supposed to be. This is us in a state of balance. This is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. And then that energy is imprinted upon theirs. It's if you're familiar with Reiki, that's really the way that Reiki works. When I channel energy into someone else from my own body, I am channeling just pure conscious energy. There's no intent, there's no story programmed into it. And in that, that energy is in a perfect state of balance. It just is. There's no judgments, there's no expectations of it. It flows, and as it flows from me into that person, it naturally balances all of the energy in their being, which then facilitates that healing. A perfect example of this is over the summer, I was working at a metaphysical shop here in Michigan, and it was the very first time I ever been there. I went there, it was like noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, super early. And I ended up staying there until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, just working with shop owners. This lady came in with a shoulder. She just had rotator cuff surgery done. She was in her sling, she was all bandaged up, and she came in there to get some herbal tea to help heal her. And the shop owner asked her if she'd like a Reiki session. Me and that shop owner worked with this lady or on this lady for 2 hours. And when we were done, she was able to take off her harness and had full mobility of her arm with zero pain. And she didn't even realize it. So after we got done, we were sitting around the table just talking, and she was setting up like this with the arm she just had surgery on. And she was smiling, laughing, having a great time until she looked at it. The moment she looked at it, she went like this. And we're like, put your attention on us. Don't look at it. And as she did that, she's like, guys, it doesn't hurt. I can move it. I'm like, yes, you are expecting there to be pain. And that expectation and that judgment is what our energy does. So energy is a blank slate, like I said, creative force. When we give it an expectation, it follows that thought. Well, like when what Christ said in the Bible is very true. It is done unto you as you believe. As these beliefs that we carry, not just in our family, but internally and throughout society, really shape how we're able to utilize our energy. And
Yeah.
that's why meditation is really important when it comes to that and being mindful of what it is that we're really telling ourselves.
That makes so much sense. I was just gonna ask, like, what practices can we do to really get ourselves to that, no, none of that narrative. So, of course, meditation and being mindful, that makes so much sense because we do play a story, and I did hear that. Someone else was saying it, like we when you do have a disease or if you do have an illness of some sort, you do make a story, and if you take that emotional aspect out of it then you won't have that emotional story, and then whatever you were suffering with will be gone. But how do you remove that emotional aspect? Like you do expect it to be a certain way. So like say my rash, I'm like I expect it to be itchy, but then I have the expectation like it will be gone. But then how do you really let it be gone? Or like manifest that out of you?
By realizing it's just energy in your body.
Mm.
So, for an example, pain, physical pain. At 17 years old, I fell off a two-story house and hurt the small of my back.
Oh my gosh.
And doctors told me their only way to fix it was to go in and have surgery and fuse the base of my spine. I'm like, yeah, that's not, no one's touching my spine with a scalpel. That's not going to happen. Now, when I exert myself, my back hurts. But when I sit with myself and meditate, I am able to let that pain, that energy move up through my body and out of my field, which is a really trippy experience. I did a live on my Facebook the other day talking about it, how it started in my back, and as I started my meditation, it moved to the front of my stomach. And
What?
then as I worked with that energy, it moved up and out of my energetic system.
Wow. So you
Uh,
actually move the energy out of you.
yeah. So are you familiar with the term toroidal field?
No, I'm not.
A toroidal field is a continuous loop that feeds itself.
Okay.
Our energy system functions as a toroidal field. We have our seven base chakras. Energy rises up from the root, comes up the head, out of the crown, and then circles out and then comes back in. So the flower of life, as an example, is a top view. If you were looking down at the toroidal field, we
Yeah.
would get the flower of life.
Mhm.
And in that, we are able to consciously move energy anywhere we want. Again, it's done unto you as you believe. When we work with and harness this type of energy or our own energy, we're able to move it wherever we want. Would you like me to demonstrate? It's really simple. It takes about,
Yes. Yes, that would be fantastic.
take a deep breath. Bring your attention to the very center of your forehead. Let me know if you when you feel a little presence there, a little sensation.
Oh, I feel it.
Imagine that sensation as a pendulum swinging back and forth. Let me know when you feel it within your mind or your brain.
Oh, yeah, I feel it.
Now, that sensation, bring it down to the base of your throat. Let me know when you feel it there.
Feel it.
Now bring it down to the center of your heart, or center of your chest.
Feel it.
Now bring it down to about 2 inches above your belly button.
Okay, feel it.
Now 2 inches below your belly button.
Mm-hmm.
Now to the very base of your spine.
Feel it.
Now bring it back up to the center of your heart.
Okay.
Now bring it out to your left arm, to the center of your left palm.
Yeah.
Now bring it back into the center of your heart. Then bring it out to your right arm, to the center of your right palm.
Feel it.
Back into the center of your heart, and then all the way up the very top part of your head. Now, with that awareness there, move your awareness up and out about an inch above your head. Now, just be aware of the subtle energy around you. Become aware of the space that your head, your nose, and your eyes, your mouth, your chin take up. Very good. Now, see that awareness flow down to your shoulders, just like you're tracing the outline of your body, down to your arms, down to your legs, and now see it come back up through your base, through your root chakra, base of your spine. Very good. Now take your hands and clap them together. Now rub them briskly and then very, very slowly pull them apart. You feel that energy between them. That is your energy. Now that you're aware of the centers in your hands and the center of your central column, you can work with your own energy. Place your hands any place on your body that you feel it needs healing. And just feel the energy move from one palm to the other, moving through your body. Pay attention to any story that comes into your mind, any thought that pops up. Simply observe it like a cloud passing over the sky. Very good. When you're ready, open your eyes and stretch.
Oh, that feels so good. Thank you for this. Oh, that feels so good. To all the listeners, they're going to benefit from this too because they can do it too. This is amazing.
This is something everyone is capable of. It's just not taught.
Exactly. Thank you for teaching us today. I'm going to do this so often to get rid of the built up energy within me. And, you really can do all of this yourself. Energy healing is so important, or even have a Reiki master like you help move the energy. And that was so good. I felt the energy, and that's so powerful that we all have it within us.
It is. I love that. And we can do much more than just facilitate a healing within our body or others. Think about when we're going to create something, especially anyone in the online space that creates content or anything. When we activate like that and are aware of our energy, we pour that energy into whatever it is that we create. And you do that unconsciously with this podcast, checking out some of your podcasts. I can just feel the love emanating out of it. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you for saying that. That makes me want to tear up because I put so much love, and I truly believe that people can feel it. Like if you can feel my love through, energy, I try to do that in every episode because I truly love and I love inspiring and helping other people because I believe that knowledge is power. Like the more knowledge you know, and not everything applies to everybody. And I just want to be as open-minded as possible to any outcomes that if anybody hears something, it can resonate with them and then they can like start their journey of healing or igniting their power or whatever it may be. You know,
Absolutely. I love that. And
thank you.
during my own experience, having that, like when we become aware of our energy field, our aura, and setting in that, we become aware that we are able to alter our states of consciousness. When we enter a state of gamma, it's called, which is the highest state scientifically that we have discovered and documented of consciousness, we are able to access higher and finer subtle energy fields that were previously unaware to us. And that is how channeling and psychic phenomena occur. Here is another, this is a really cool and fun, simple exercise. So
Okay.
take your hand, go like this. And now just move it really fast, like this, up and down. Let me know when your hand feels wet,
Oh yeah, it feels wet.
right there. That is your hand passing through the energetic field that connects us all.
Wow.
You just had a direct experience with what many esoteric or spiritual doctrine would call the firmament. And in the Bible, when God said, "Let there be light," and he created the night and day and separated it, that is what he created, the firmament that houses, it's like a giant egg-shaped bubble that encompasses the entire earth, the entire cosmos, really.
Yeah.
And that connects all of us. So in shamanism, when they talk about the web of life, this is what we're talking about. We are all connected to that field,
Wow.
and anyone can access it at any point in time for any reason.
Yeah. But you have to be aware, right? And open to it.
Hmm. We connect to it all the time, just most people do it unconsciously. And when we do it
Mhm.
unconsciously, we're not mindful of what it is that we're actually putting out, the energy that we're giving. Now that we're aware of it and conscious of it, we can be mindful, okay, what is it that I'm pulling in from this field? And what is it that I'm giving this field? Because as this field feeds us, we feed it.
Oh.
And that is a balanced energy exchange.
So that balanced energy exchange comes from being mindful as well, though, because if you're not even noticing or being unconscious about it, so being mindful of your thoughts is still happening, right? Energy keeps working because everything is energy, correct?
Right.
Everything is energy.
Every single thing is made up of the same energy.
Yeah. But then, isn't that fascinating though? I had a thought. I was like, even though there's like what, 8 billion people on the planet, but all of us have a different perception of life because we all have our own realities of like our own experiences. So one person will never ever have the same experience or thoughts or whatever. We all have some similarities, but you would never ever understand someone else truly because we all have our own experiences. So there's 8 billion different experiences and thoughts and perceptions going on in the world, which is pretty
Right.
crazy.
That is pretty crazy. And each one of those 8 billion produce energy that
Hmm.
affects the firmament in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And that's why love is like the language that we all should be understanding, right? Because I was just talking about this in a podcast episode, and I was like, I'm recording a podcast episode about love and how if we're all made up of God, right? And God emulates love, and we're all love. That means we are all love. And so
Yes,
that's a beautiful thing. And I was like, why are we not loving one another? I just feel like there's just so much negativity in the world right now. And it's just so sad that we are love because we are God, we are a piece of God. So we should all be in a loving space and energy of love. But
it's taught out of us.
yeah.
When we look at kids, little kids. And a perfect example of this is I have a big family. When we all together, there's like 30, 40 of us.
Yeah.
And we were all up north camping.
Oh.
And our littlest ones, my littlest cousin, he was 3 at the time. And he was playing with this other little boy, African American little boy, right? And they were just playing it, and he took a toy from him. He just went out and took it. And the moment he saw his actions made sadness in that other little boy, he gave it back and then gave him a hug without any adult telling him to do so. That was his natural automatic response.
Mhm.
And as we grow up, we have experiences that teach us, we don't open your heart. It's dangerous. You don't want to get your feelings hurt. You don't want to, have these. And as we grow up, it's very important to me to understand discernment. And when we know that discernment, when we speak our truth, that tells us the truth is in our heart. And something very interesting. Are you familiar with Dr. David Hawking's map of consciousness?
No. I've heard of David Hawkins, but I'm not familiar with that work.
He correlates truth to the heart chakra, and that when we are authentic and speak our truth, it opens our heart instead of closes it. And when we have an open heart, the heart chakra is one of the function is discernment, to be able to tell the truth for us. So as someone like myself, I cannot be lied to. I know if someone's lying to me automatically. And whether or not I choose to call them out on that, 9 times out of 10, I don't. I just go about my business. But everyone can do that. Everyone has their ability to utilize this. so that they can understand what is true for them in their experience. And that doesn't mean necessarily that it's, the other person or thing is evil. It's just, okay, is there going to be an energy exchange that's balanced here? Yes or no? If when we look at relationships, for example, if they're unbalanced, that relationship is not going to last because unbalanced energy is not sustainable.
Yeah.
When it's imbalanced, both sides feed the whole, which then makes it stable and be able to expand. So without knowing our truth, or without knowing truth, we have no real way of navigating life, which then creates an incredible amount of fear within us.
Mm.
And to tie it back to what you were saying earlier about, there's so much stuff going on, and it's fear. It's all fear-based. We're operating collectively and societally from a point of fear instead of a point of love. I
Yeah.
think that was Christ's biggest lesson, is operate from love instead of fear.
Love that. That is so true. Thanks for sharing that and reminding us all and going in depth about how love truly works and why we are in the state that we are in collectively. It's so true. We are in a fear-based state. And this is what we're taught, though. We're taught at a young age in our society to be fearful of everything, to be fearful to speak up, to speak our truth. Like, it's so wild. And so, now it's beautiful that we do have, our rights or our power to really speak up if you want to, or to do the things that you want to, like what we said before, what you said, only you can make things happen for yourself. And it's your energy and your mindfulness and your power to do it or not, taking those actions towards it. It's like a full circle. Full,
Exactly.
it's everything correlates, everything is related.
That's right. It's all connected. And
Yes.
I'm so glad that you mentioned the circle, because that shape is very important when it comes to energy work.
Really?
So like okay, I'm going to send you energy into your arm, into your left arm. Let me know when you feel it.
Oh, I feel it.
All I'm doing is my center of my palm, it's called a minor chakra here, is open. And I am just circulating that energy. When energy moves into something, it moves in a spiral. When energy moves out of something, it moves in a counterclockwise spiral. And that's why that circle was very important. And in spiritual, or in studying symbolism, the circle is also often representation of the ego, because the ego gets stuck in a loop.
Mm, makes sense.
And once we realize that that loop is just the ego and we break it, then we realize that there is really a spiral, and that is the energy or the spirit moving through versus the ego.
Whoa.
That book I shared with you, Biogeometry, that goes in great detail, both scientifically and spiritually, about that. It's a fascinating read.
Oh, thank you for sending that. I started reading a couple pages and I was like, ooh, I was so excited. And then I got really tired. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed. But I'm so
You're very
excited to read.
welcome.
It's so fascinating. But isn't that crazy? How do we receive energy though? Like when you did that, I had a tingly sensation. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I started feeling warm, tingly sensations. Is that normal? Or like does everybody process like receiving energy or feeling their energy differently?
It's different for everyone, but there is some type of tingling or swirly sensation. So, like for me, example, when I feel it, when someone's giving it to me, I feel it as a warm, swirling sensation. I feel like the swirl.
Yeah, I feel a tingly sensation, but it's warm. And then I get like kind of a little like happy, like giddy. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm like,
Because
in a good way.
so that activates your inner child. So basically, my inner child, the little boy inside me, was playing with the little girl inside you, saying, "Hey, I see you, you see me, we can play together." And that made us happy, because all we really want to do is play.
Yeah.
And like, mental health, when we look at life as a game that is meant to be played and enjoyed versus something that's a burden to be endured,
Yeah.
makes life a lot more fun and a
Yeah.
lot less challenging and heavy.
That's what I've been working through. Like I've been trying to work through that mindset of like, because I grew up working hard and that's what I thought. Like life had to be hard. It was not supposed to be fun. Like life is supposed to not be playful. And so I'm trying to change my beliefs and truly trying to tap into like my inner child of like playing. And that's why like doing this and my podcasting is just so fun for me. It's something that I would have never thought I would enjoy so much. But source or higher source always leads you to exactly where you need to be or what you need to do, you know?
Exactly. And that's fascinating to me that you said that, and the fact that for the longest time, for over a year, what you said, you didn't do it because
Hmm.
you wouldn't allow yourself to feel that joy.
Yeah.
A lot of it is receiving that joy. I was the same thing. Like my father was a blue collar.
Hmm.
He was an iron worker. And he worked very long and grueling hours. And when he retired from that, he started a construction company that I worked at since I was 8 years old.
Mm.
And it was long and grueling hours. I'm like, this is it. This is what life is. I don't want to be a part of this. This kind of sucks. It's hard and it's no fun.
Yeah.
Now, when I look at it, I'm like, wow, because I know how to work with wood and do construction, I can create some really beautiful things. And while I focus on that, it's much more fun. It's much more engaging versus like, yeah, I'm going to go do this drywall job and I just go, I don't want to do
Yeah.
it. And it can make the day really heavy and hard or really up and fun.
Yeah.
And that is really the difference. Like we really make our experience what we want them to be. If we want them to be hard, it's going to be hard. If we want it to be fun, it's going to be fun.
True. That's why I've been trying to tap into like making things more fun or more blissful, more simple, instead of like having the mentality of I'm gonna wake up, it's gonna be hard, and life is gonna be boring and it's gonna suck. Like a lot of us have that narrative. I'm gonna go drive to work, do the 9 to 5, and then I'm gonna get home and do it all over again. And I'm like, no, I don't want to live that way. I'm over it. No.
Right. Right. And like that's really it's crazy to me sometimes with people with that mindset. I'll ask them, what inspires you? And they never have an answer.
They don't know. They don't know
That's
the answer.
that's exactly what I says. You don't know what inspires you because you're so cut off from your own inspiration and your own joy.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes, do something that you find fun. Doesn't matter what it is. I was with a doctor friend of mine years ago demonstrating this. And I said, come on, we're gonna go hug a tree. And they looked at me kind of funny. I'm like, come on, we're gonna go do it. It's broad daylight in the middle of this parking lot. We're gonna go hug this tree. They're like, what? I'm like, I promise you, 5 minutes of hugging this tree, you will feel tremendously better. And they did.
Yeah.
And when we got done, we're like, wow. I'm like, do you realize how much you were judging yourself? Because if you saw someone doing that, you would say, oh, they're idiots. All of this spewing all of this hatred and this BS. Like, stop judging yourself for enjoying simple things.
Yeah. And we're so far from enjoying simple things, right?
Yeah,
Like we can't just enjoy the simple things. But I'm practicing and learning to enjoy the simple little moments. Like, and on my Instagram, I show literally my story of all the simple things that bring me joy. I think people think like I'm maybe nuts or crazy, but I'm like, I'm so happy I get to see this flower because it brings me so much joy. Or I'm so happy I'm able to enjoy this meal with my little family that I once, wanted so badly. And I have it. And I'm like enjoying the present moment. And I'm like, I love this. I love eating delicious food and spending time, quality time with my family. I'm like, this is true bliss. Like, this is what I love showing and living for, And like that little simple thing is so, so simple, but it truly makes you so happy and blissful. And I want that feeling for everybody. Like I don't know how to teach people that, but I guess just live in it, but like however I am and just trying to, you know, spread the message. I don't know, but I just know the simplicity in life is what moves the needles and makes the changes into your life too.
absolutely. And Kathy, I find that so fascinating because I went to school for leadership and certificates and all of that. But honestly, true leadership is by example.
Oh,
When we lead by example, we share in that energy. So like, and I've seen your Instagram, and you're right. When you're sharing the things that genuinely bring you happiness, you can feel it. I'm like,
oh,
oh, look at that. That is so cool. They're so happy. I love that. And then I've catch my, oh, I'm now happy because I got to share in that. And then as I share that, somebody else gets to have that experience.
oh.
And one of my mentors told me when I was talking to them about money, they're like, money is simply just offering somebody else happiness. That's all you have to do. And when you do that, you appreciate yourself. When you appreciate yourself or the things that you're engaging in, you share them. And when you share them, you inspire other people to do the same. I say continuously doing that has a compound effect that in that way, opportunities and the circumstances to have the money or to have the money come to you are present. And while you're engaging in the things that bring you joy, you're mindful. So while you're mindful, you're also going to be aware when those opportunities present themselves versus, oh, I gotta go to work tomorrow. This sucks. And then you're not, all your focus is on tomorrow and you miss the opportunity that's right in front of you to potentially, make more money.
That is so true and accurate, 1,000%. Like literally when you said that, it blew my mind because lately I've been on this bean protocol. I've been sharing it. I've been loving it. And then I got way more people saying like, "Oh my God, you're inspiring me." And I was like, even the people I would have never thought would be inspired by me because I thought they would be more I just feel like they're at a different level where they're higher than me and doing inspiring things like that. And they're like saying, "No, I'm inspiring them." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I'm receiving that energy and I'm seeing that like, popping up and I'm appreciating it. But it's you being authentically you and happy. And like you said, people can feel that and see that, which is so powerful.
And in a spiritual sense, and I forget what part of the Bible, the specific part that talks about when it talks about donning the armor of God, that's what
Yeah.
it's talking about. Because in that state, that puts us in a natural gamma state. Disease cannot exist within our body, cannot penetrate our aura field, that lower vibrational nature. And if we were to look at our body scientifically, we would see that our body is in a alkaline state.
Mm.
A body that is in an alkaline state, no disease can exist in that. Disease need an acidic state in order to exist in. When we look at the types of food and things, if we're eating a lot of fried, greasy, sugary, processed stuff, that is all acidic in nature,
Oh,
all
wow.
of it. The things that are alkaline in nature are the fresh fruits, the fresh veggies.
Hmm.
And there is, to me, that because I've always asked the question, like, how come our ancestors didn't have cancers and all the stuff that we have today?
Yeah.
And a lot of what I found is like, well, they didn't live long enough. I was like, well, then maybe they're onto something with that because all of these, you telling me I can live 80 years, but 40 of that's got to be through something, horrible? No,
Yeah.
and it wasn't any of that. It was they ate a very natural diet, a very holistic diet that created a system in them that was alkaline in nature versus acidic. The natural sugars that our body needs that we get from fruits and that is the carriers. So when our cells actually need to absorb I forget the clinical term for it, but the natural sugars open up our cells that allow our cells to absorb the energy from the food that we take. When we eat processed sugar, that processed sugar shuts our cells down. So it doesn't get the actual energy that it needs in order to function properly. That is why it's very important, especially for anyone that has any type of autoimmune or anything really, cut out the processed stuff, guys. It's horrible for you. And like I'm right there with you too. Like I eat potato chips maybe once a week. I still eat them,
Yeah.
but it's not something that I eat all the time every day.
Yeah.
And I make sure that I get my fruits, veggies, and it's really fun to be creative that way, to come up with different meals and different recipes that taste good.
Yeah. Yes. Even my meals are so simple, but then I love it. I can eat the same thing all day long every day if I could, and then like sometimes, have that chip or whatever that you're craving. It's okay. But for the most part, I really have to have if I don't have it, then I don't feel good. Like some type of green, some type of protein, and then like my fiber, beans. Like I have to have those three things right now in every meal. And if I don't have it, I will feel off balanced. And how you explain it on a cellular level makes so much sense because your body needs that energy. Your cells need that energy to thrive. And if you're feeding it nutrients that it needs, it can thrive. And that's what I truly believe. That's why I'm like, I need to feed it all these nutrients to help it at a cellular level to help with my autoimmune disease and like my endometriosis, which is causing all of like, the manifestations coming out of me energetically. And I see it, And so when I've been doing this, it feels more empowering too, because I'm like, whoa, I'm gaining more confidence. I'm like actually doing the things that I'm saying I should be doing, Like it's just like a ripple effect. And just making
Yeah,
that one change really can help raise your vibration and energy too.
100%.
Yeah.
And in that, you're like you're tuning in your mind to your
Yeah.
body. So you are living mind and body together.
Yeah. And
And
yeah,
go ahead.
I said it feels so good. It feels so aligned.
Yes, then that's like, that through word gets thrown around a lot, blind landless space. But that's to me what it really is living in congruency with our mind and body. And
Yeah.
then when those two are connected, we take the action that we know we need.
Yeah.
That goes back to alchemy, aligning that emotional awareness from our body with the mental awareness of our mind together, mind and body, that takes the empowered and inspired action to, produce whatever result we want. And that's a great way for us to appreciate our body. I appreciate my body by giving it what it wants
Yeah.
and what it's craving.
Yes. Yes. It's craving those nutrients. It's craving it so badly that when I feed it, it's like, yeah, it feels so
Yeah,
good. Right.
yeah. What are oranges?
Really?
When I can get one from my kids before they eat them all.
Well,
When I eat orange, it's like my body's dancing inside. It just feels so happy. I'm like, from a simple orange, I get all of this.
yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but see, you're in tune with your body. Like it's like you want give you that orange and then I'm gonna be happy? So
Mhm.
yeah,
And what was a couple of weeks ago, this will be very helpful too. So on an astrological level,
Mhm.
every sign has a different deficiency, mineral deficiency. So while we're in the womb, our body gets the imprint or the awareness of how to create the cell salts from our mother.
Yeah.
Um, there's 12 cell salts total that our body needs. We're only in the womb for 9 months, so we miss three cell salts that our body doesn't know how to make. And those cell salts are where we need to get into our body from the food that we take in.
Mhm.
For an example, I'm a Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the negative aspect, or the shadow aspect of Sagittarius, impulsivity and recklessness,
Mhm.
which can stem from silica. Silica is what our body uses to produce serotonin. Serotonin is the mood stabilizer and the ability to focus.
Oh wow.
So my body never got the imprint or the information on how to make silica from my mom.
Mm.
When I growing up, I love strawberries, always have.
Yeah.
Strawberries contain a large amount of silica,
Wow.
and it's in the leaf itself, not so much the berry. The leaf is what contains the most silica. And we've been taught not to eat the leaf, not because it's bad for us, because it doesn't taste good. So when I eat strawberries, I eat the whole leaf. And like last week, I ate two containers of strawberries, and I have not had trouble focusing for what is it, 10 days now.
Wow. You told me that last Friday, and so I did eat strawberries that Friday. And then I was like, I ate the whole thing, and then today I feel great. So it could be a correlation too there with that strawberries, which
Love
is so
that.
crazy. I really took that into consideration. I was like, should I cut it? No, I shouldn't cut it off. I'm gonna eat it. And so I ate it with my daughter. It was awesome.
That is super cool.
Thank you for those tips. Those are amazing. Do you believe in like, so tomorrow is January 25th, and I guess like the astrologically the planets are aligning or something. So does
Mhm.
that affect us energetically? I'm just wondering.
Absolutely.
Just wondering.
So, one of the cool things that scientists have just actually been able to confirm is the Newtonian stream.
Mhm.
The Newtonian stream is the stream of energy that is flowing around us. Why this is so important is because this stream moves faster than the speed of light and it contains mass. The reason that that is important is mass contains information.
Mhm.
And we didn't, for the longest time, we didn't think that any particle that contained mass could move faster than the speed of light because it was too heavy with the mass. And the Newtonian stream travels through each planet, picking up information and then dropping it off. It drops it off into our sun, and then our sun shines it upon us. So we get little tiny bits of influence from each of the planets. And then if we want to look at the specifics of how that interacts for us personally, we got to look at our astrology chart. But 100%. So as being a Sagittarius, I have Jupiter exalted in my chart. So what that means, Jupiter is in my sign of Sagittarius and in the house of Sagittarius. So I get all of the power of Jupiter. I get the expansiveness, the charm, the energy, the prosperity, all the good luck, all of it. But I have to adhere to Jupiter's rule. Jupiter is about higher education is one of them, yes. But higher like nobility and not nobility and authenticity, integrity is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. So if I need to make sure that my actions align with integrity in anything that I do. And as I do that, I am blessed by that energy. Now, if I try to act someplace or some way from non-integrity, I am cursed by it. So that
Mm.
energy, the energy is going to come to me and give me all the opportunities and all the good vibes and everything as long as I use it properly. And it's about holding to those higher principles is the word I was looking for. And in
Mm.
doing that, I demonstrate and lead by example a new way to be, a different, a higher perspective and how to live from. And that's with any planet. Each planet has its gifts as well as its shadow side.
Yeah.
When we act from the shadow side, we get the shadow aspect of the energy. And that correlates to our DNA. When we look at the DNA in a person, statistically, we're going to look for, okay, is their DNA upregulated or downregulated? If it's downregulated, they're going to be more susceptible to depression, to alcoholism, drug abuse, promiscuity, all the things that potentially is going to make life very challenging for them.
Yeah.
If that DNA is upregulated, they're not going to be like more as is likely to fall prey to those lower um, things, where they're going to be able to set those boundaries and say no to the things that they know is intrinsically not very well for them.
Yeah.
So, from an astrological standpoint, it's also the astrological energy that makes up our RNA. It's in astrology is called a codon. And those codons imprint our RNA. Our RNA is what makes up our DNA.
Mm.
And then that DNA forms the molecules and the particles and cells and all the stuff that makes us physical.
Mhm.
And so we can see how that energy plays out within us and through us.
Wow. That's so fascinating. That really is. Like, even from that RNA, DNA level, like you are somewhat already like a certain way and we don't know that about ourselves, right? So then like we see our negatives or shadows as like a bad thing, but it's just there to just teach us and remind us of like what we need to work on and add in more love and care into those areas, which is okay, you know?
Absolutely. And again, from a spiritual standpoint, that tells us what our soul chose to incarnate in this lifetime to expand, because
Yes.
that is how we learn. And I tell everybody this, if we can learn how to look at things from the observer standpoint instead of judging good or bad, we realize that life itself, everything that we have went through is an experience. That experience has helped us expand in some way or some form and taught us something. And having my own mental health challenge in that, when I first came into that awareness, I'm like, how in the heck, like, yeah, no, I would never have chose this. This is total crap. And as I look back through my life, I'm like, wow, yeah, because there's been times where I've had some really profound experiences that let me help someone. I've saved people's lives simply by being able to relate to their story.
Yeah.
Just what was it, 6 or 7 months ago, I couldn't sleep.
Mhm.
And so I got up and started playing around in one of my Facebook groups, a single dad support group. And this gentleman in there popped in there, said, guys, I need help. I'm standing on a bridge right now and I'm going to jump. And I reached out to him. Him and I chatted for like 3 hours, just talking. And like, it wasn't anything. We were just chatting. And because of that, that night he went home to his family. And I'm
Beautiful.
like, that right there to me made all of those experiences worth it because that equipped me with the ability to do that.
Yeah. And we all have that story. We all have that within us. Like just saying me in general, like suffering with infertility and endometriosis. Like I share it openly to help others who are going through that, and it's so rewarding when you can help that one person.
Yes, absolutely.
So amazing. Oh, Mike, I could talk to you for hours. You are so knowledgeable. You're amazing. We're gonna have to have you come back on.
I
But
would love to be back on, Kat.
oh, I love our conscious conversations. They
I,
truly are so inspiring. And thank you so much for sharing so much with us today and being so open and honest. And, the more open you are, the more people can relate and really understand. So, where can listeners connect with you, learn more about your work, or even explore your poetry? Like, where can they find you?
guys, you can find me on Facebook at Michael Perr, Perr. And I do a lot of videos. I do a lot of meditations. I share my poetry there. You can also find me on YouTube at Shaman Perry. And you can check me out on my website, shamanperry.com. And if you guys are interested, on my website, I just finished up building where you can get your human design chart, which is takes astrology, the I Ching, numerology, and the chakra system and can blends them together to form a unique blueprint of how your energy works. And it's completely free. You can download a free 60-page report that'll tell you all about you.
I'm going to do that. I'm going
And
to do
I was just thinking, it was like, wow, I don't think I told you, Kathy. I'm sorry.
You did not. We're gonna have to ask for that link, and I'll link all your social links below in the show notes. Thank you so much. We're definitely gonna have to have more conscious conversations over here. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Have a great day, guys. And you
Yeah.
too.